Welcome, everybody, to Drive Through Sports with Adam and Paul. Adam Freeman here from Atlanta, Georgia, coming to you. Paul Brees is in Brentwood, Tennessee tonight. Encourage everybody to listen on all of our platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel, Drive Through Sports with Adam and Paul, and follow us on Twitter at D3 Sports. A lot going on today. Brees, what's going on in Brentwood?
Same old, Adam. I mean,
you had a big, we took a night off last night. We had a big, going on in Dixon last night. Tell me about it.
Yeah, my wife's grandmother turned 90, so there was a little shindig for that. I guess when you hit the 9-0, you kind of get a free pass from Corona.
Yeah, just whatever you want to do, man. Whatever.
Yeah,
that's a big.
Sure.
You only turn 90 once here. So. But that's cool. Now, what are your kids, or what does Amy call her grandmother? She have like
Granny.
Oh, Granny. Okay, so
keep it simple.
Do your kids call her Granny, or they?
Yes,
okay.
They do.
All right. Okay. There's all kinds of variations on what grandmothers want to be called, and our kids call Leslie's mom Mimi, and they call my mom Emo. that comes from so it's you never that's why I have to ask. You never know what it's going to be, but that's awesome. Celebrating 90th birthday, shutting Dixon down last night, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Oh man. Well, let's get right to it. Obviously, ground there says a lot about our first hot take tonight. The death of Johnny Majors yesterday. Lost Pat Dye earlier in the week, who was at Auburn for 12 years. Recruited Bo Jackson, and now to lose Johnny Majors, a guy who won a national championship at Pittsburgh, then came to Tennessee, and they had a lot of success. Obviously, he impacted. I mean, this is a big deal for you, man. Tennessee fan. This is sad.
Yeah, a little bit of your childhood, kind of going away. Some things here in Nashville that they've talked about with Coach Majors is that, obviously he was the runner-up to the Heisman to Paul Hornung, back I think 56.
Yeah, he was a heck of an athlete. Yeah, heck of an athlete.
Yeah, but the interesting take was this that I learned from Johnny Majors is that, he's back-to-back SEC Player of the Year, but yet he never got drafted to the NFL and played one season professional football for the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL. So apparently size does matter. Johnny Majors did not have that, and but I think he chose the right path. And
well, definitely. What was his position? I don't even know that. Halfback?
He was he was a single wing specialist. So,
which basically means he caught the toss sweep from the quarterback as he, and they either went right or they went to the left. Yeah. Well, he will be missed. Vol Nation definitely will miss him. The SEC community will miss him as well. He, big impact there with the Vols. Think of the guys that he coached, man.
Dude.
Just Willie Galt.
Reggie White.
Jeez. Robinson, I mean, all those great running backs, all those great receivers that they had back in the day. Billy.
Billy
all those guys.
The funny thing was, you mentioned the wide receivers. Tennessee back as we were growing up was kind of like wide receiver U. I mean, if
they were.
Wide receiver, that's where you went, and you went to Tennessee. I mean, currently as it states, you got to have a quarterback that can throw the ball, and Tennessee has had a little issue with that the last 4 years or so. But hopefully that's a change with your guy Harrison Bailey coming up, and maybe he'll sling it around for us.
He will absolutely sling it around. That is all he did in his high school career, and he did so with very much success. So,
Johnny Majors, I tell you what, You got a street named after you in Knoxville, you know you're good, buddy.
That's right. That's right. That's true. That's true. He definitely left an impression.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there'll be a tribute to him on their uniforms coming in the fall. Pretty sure. All right, that gets us to our second hot take tonight. And the NBA. I know you're excited about this.
You got
the NBA, unlike Major League Baseball, has gotten their act together and has figured out, hey, we got a plan. This is what we're going to do. Sorry to you 8 teams that couldn't quite get within, who just aren't good enough. Okay, we're going with the 22 that got a shot, and this
right.
We're going to reset it. I love this plan. I think it's exciting. I think everybody's going to watch it. You've got those 8 games, the 8-game regular season, to kind of get them, so you're not just playing like a round 1 series and everybody's rusty. Work the kinks out in those 8 games, and in those 8 games, you find out who ends up being the top 16. Here's the only, and I'll get your take on this in a second, but here's the only thing I don't understand about it. Why do we have to wait till July 31st for this to start? Why can't we start at July 1st? It's June the 4th. I mean, let's let them practice for 3 weeks and let's play. I don't understand why we can't just start at July 1st and why we're waiting 7 weeks for this if they've already agreed in principle to the plan.
Yeah. To answer your question first, I think July was always a safe month, that even looking back in mid-March, that everybody was looking around the July 4th area to be kind of like an all clear kind of deal. I don't know if that was still the case as they thought this process out. I do know that there was some heavy logistics involved with trying to get 22 teams, down to Orlando, and I'm sure there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's going to have to take place. So maybe they needed a time frame, and maybe they needed a time frame for those teams to kind of get their travel people together, but who knows? My question is this. Okay, so the 2 conferences, the Eastern Conference is only going to bring 9 teams. The Western Conference is bringing 13 teams.
Right.
So from what I understand when reading all this, is if you are within 4 games of 8th place when the 8 games is over, you're going to have another play-in game. I don't know if I read that incorrectly.
Yes, you're correct.
There is some kind of, as you would say, kind of, asterisk.
Yeah, there's some kind of play-in, role there. The 8 games are over.
So I see a clear cut in the Eastern Conference of the 8-9, and the Western Conference gets kind of dicey with 13 teams. If you're asking for me in our hot take coming up, those teams that are 7 to 13 in the Western Conference, I mean, they're going all out game 1 of this thing. I mean, like playoff mode.
Yeah,
because they do not want to get left behind.
No, yeah, they're going to have to, and we'll talk about who our favorites are to win it all here in just a second. But that's my only thing. I'm just glad they're back. I'm glad they made a decision. They got a plan. Kudos to Adam Silver, the owners, Players Association. They understand how important it is to have sports right now more than ever, which segues us into our next hot take here. And as you see my background, classic photo there of a couple of 49er players kneeling there during the national anthem. And in light of, what was said by Drew Brees today, and, it was brought up, and I thought, well, shoot, I wonder if that will happen in the fall. And if it, because here's the deal. Like you had an NFL owner down there in Texas say, anybody that kneels is not working for me.
Right.
Okay, guess what? This is a different, it's interesting to me. And one of your guys, Arian Foster, former Vol, smart guy. Okay. I was actually reading an article that they interviewed him for a podcast, and they wrote an article about it. And he was basically saying, hey, look, when these guys are kneeling, they're not kneeling to disrespect the flag. They're not kneeling to, because they don't appreciate our military. They're kneeling they're demonstrating for, they want the police brutality to stop. And that's the time that they can get everybody's attention. Okay. All right. And initially, I didn't get that. I thought the opposite. I thought these guys are doing it, because they're ungrateful. That is absolutely not the truth. That's not what the point of this is. And I think it will go on. I think there will be kneeling. And you might even see it in the stands.
Yeah.
Okay. And on a side note, I was watching PTI today, and Tony Kornheiser mentioned, he said, look, the national anthem before a sporting event, he goes, that's not required.
Yeah.
Okay? That was just something that started, and it became a tradition, and they just did it. It's not, you don't have to do that. So you may see that get amended or changed. I don't know. But there's a lot of things. But to answer the question, yes, I think they will, and I'm completely fine with that, because I now have a sense of why they're doing it, and I totally agree with them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that something to this had to bring light to people like you and me to see the real reason why this was all happening. I was just like you. I thought, hey, they're disrespecting the flag. My son's in the military. I didn't appreciate it. But what the flag stands for is equality. And those players are kneeling because they feel like the flag is, we're not giving the equality to the people and what the United States is trying to do. And
Yeah.
But what I do know is this, is you talked about it, there's going to be a lot of kneeling, but how are I am 100% sure that the NFL owners are now going to say it's okay. I would be shocked if there's someone that bucks the system.
Oh, nobody's going to. No, this is going to be accepted practice. If you feel the need to do that, then by all means do that. We support you 100%. I think that's going to be how they approach it. And again, getting to your point, this is a situation where, when I look at the flag, I see my grandfather's service in Europe. I see my grandfather's service in the Pacific. I see my dad's service in Vietnam. Connor, Greece. I see, our friends that have been in the military that have served, and the sacrifices that they've made for their families, for us, and for me and you. Not everybody sees that. And that's the point that you made. Not everybody sees that. To them, and to Arian Foster, the point he made in his interview was, when I see that, I see the symbol of a nation that has not treated me equally. And that was what I did not get. And now I get it. I get it. I understand where he's coming from in that article and in that interview. And I'm totally behind it. I completely support it. And I think you're going to see more of that. I hope you see more of that in the near future. But anyway, I do think it's going to happen. All right. Hot take numero dos, or actually number 4, actually. Back to the NBA, talking about that whole crazy format. Who you got? Who you got winning it?
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. A friend of mine opened my eyes to a conspiracy theory on the NBA.
I love those.
On the NBA being quote unquote rigged, and that the NBA will do whatever it takes to make sure the right teams get themselves in the right position.
Do you not? I believe it. You throw anything out, you tell me anything that relates to what you just said, I'll believe it, because I'm totally on board with that.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to give you my favorites, and then I'm going to give you a sleeper team.
All right.
Okay. Eastern Conference. I'm going to go with the Toronto Raptors, currently sitting in second. Eastern Conference, dark horse, Brooklyn Nets. What is Durant going to do?
I almost put that on here. What if he comes back and Irving comes back and plays? Because it's been 13 months.
Yeah.
He's probably ready, or he will be ready.
Yeah. Western Conference, it's a no-brainer. It's the Lakers. There will be no doubt somehow the Lakers get in the finals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't even consider it a dark – listen, if you want a dark horse for fun, the Rockets. But I just don't see it happen. If KD and Irving come back, I'd love to see him play LeBron and AD in the finals. Is
that what the controversy is all about, or what the conspiracy theory was all about?
I'm not going to say.
Come on, man! You can't throw that out there.
I would just say, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. I don't know what the plus minus is, but if you want to take the Nets and the whatever and the money for the
here, that's another thing
the NBA
too.
Finals.
Yeah, and I need to. I'll breach this with you. The plus minus, I don't get that.
Well, just know this: if in the gambling world, if you're a negative, if it says Los Angeles Lakers negative 210, then that means they're really heavily favored. You would have to bet $210 to make $100.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Now, the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're a plus 210, you have to bet $100. You will win $210.
Aha. All right.
So that's why it's important. The dark horses always have that plus in front of their name.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a guy who's never placed a bet, so I know nothing about any of that stuff.
Not at all.
But that's interesting. It's interesting if that's how it works. I mean, I understand like the odds, like the 4-1 and 9-2, and all that sort of stuff. Odds to win it, but the actual when you're actually placing a bet, seeing what it looks like. Okay. For me, yes, I think I'm 100% conspiracy theory. The Lakers are going to the final. They will make the finals for the conspiracy reason, and for the reason there's nobody in the West that can stop them. Okay. That in and of itself, I think is important to mention. But in the Eastern Conference, I like Milwaukee. But I also think that as my dark horse in the East, and it depends a lot upon injuries and who comes back and makes sure they're healthy, is the Philadelphia 76ers. And that may sound strange to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if Ben Simmons is healthy, that roster is healthy, and Tobias Harris gets going.
Former Vol,
that's right. I think they could make a run at them. I really do. I mean, you think about it, they were 4 bounces away from going to the finals last year, right?
Yeah.
So they definitely have the talent to do it. All right. So this gets to our next one. NASCAR.
Listen, I love it.
They're back, baby. They're coming back in 2021, back to Nashville. Now, what's interesting about that is I think a lot of people, at least when I heard this, and you said, oh, NASCAR is coming back to Nashville, you know what I thought, right? Nashville's coming back to the fairgrounds. Coming back to the fairground. That's what I thought, because that's what I remember as Nashville racing. The ARCA,
right,
and the Saturday night, the half mile track.
Yeah.
But there is a super speedway in
That's
Lebanon,
right.
in
That's
Wilson
right.
County. That's where they're going to be. And I would imagine that's going to be a 500-mile race or 600-mile race that they're going to run in 2021. They're taking one of the races away from the Dover track, and they're racing it in Nashville. And, I think there's 25,000 seat capacity in the grandstands right now, and they're looking to double that. I think you could get, I think you could get 75, 100,000 in there easy. With the demand for NASCAR in Middle Tennessee, it's huge.
Yeah, if they're allowed.
If they're allowed, right. But I think you got to get it back at the fairgrounds.
No, first of all, you got to understand, the Nashville Fairgrounds is where the new MLS soccer stadium is supposed to go.
Supposed to go, or they've broken ground?
No, not broken ground. got an issue or two with the project right now.
Let me guess. City council and
the mayor is gone off the deep. But anyway,
because he doesn't want to use public funds. Is that the whole deal?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Anyway, the Nashville Super Speedway, it's out there in Lebanon.
Yeah, Wilson County. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good 40 miles away, right?
Yeah, it's a mile and a third track. But listen, when they said NASCAR's coming back, we never got an official NASCAR race. We got like ARCA, we got the trucks.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, no big whatever. But no, they're bringing the big dogs out, and that's kind of a big deal to me.
Yeah, they're actually going to spend between $8 and $10 million resurfacing this track and getting everything up to spec to get this right for them to come back. And I will say this, I've only been to one race, and it was not on a super speedway. It was on a 3/8 mile track in North Georgia, but the environment and the atmosphere is out of this world. And I'm not a huge racing fan, and I had a blast. I mean, it's fun. It's loud. If you like cars, I mean, it's where you need to be. But and a super speedway, it's a whole other dimension, I'm sure. But the fact that they that headline Nashville or NASCAR back in Nashville is really kind of a misnomer because they were never actually there in the first place. And that the super speedway, it's been there. They don't really.
But
it's pretty much vacant. Like they rent it out to different places. So they need a tenant.
Yeah, it's effectively been shut down since 2011.
Wow.
I don't know who's been keeping up with the grass, but
well, I think Forrest Gump just cuts it for free.
There you go. up in Gladeville, Tennessee.
Gladeville. All right, so that gets us to the human interest part of the show, the program, if you will. And I started thinking about this because obviously it's summer, and hopefully things will start to loosen up and open up a little bit. So I started thinking about roller coasters and theme parks. Been to a few in my day. Obviously, we've got Six Flags here in Atlanta, which when the kids were younger, we'd have season passes every year. So rode a lot of roller coasters, but I've ridden a lot in my lifetime. And so I thought we'd just talk about like my favorite roller coaster. And my favorite roller coaster, I probably rode it with you because I think it was on a trip we took to Kings Island.
Oh yeah.
You remember that trip?
Yeah, oh yeah. Kings Island, Cincinnati.
Kings Island, Cincinnati. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time that we rode it, it was the fastest roller coaster in the U.S.
Correct.
The Beast at Kings.
The Beast.
The Beast. It's still there, and it goes over 60 miles an hour, and it is hair on fire, hands down. That was the best roller coaster I've ever been on, and I've ridden a lot of roller coasters. That was the most aside from the Scream Machine at Six Flags, that's the most scared I've ever been on a roller coaster. Now, you don't get scared on the Scream Machine because you're going really fast. You get scared on the Scream Machine because you're afraid it's going to collapse into the giant man-made pond next to it because it's so rickety. A old school wooden roller coaster. Boy, oh boy. You get off that thing, you just kiss the ground.
Yeah.
The Beast, man, just don't eat anything for about 2 hours before you get on that deal. But it's intense. So what do you got, man? You've been around. You've been to some theme parks, I know.
Yeah, I've been to a few. But listen, there's one that, you get to a theme park and you're either visually intimidated by the roller coaster or you're not. Okay. Went to Universal Studios, and there's a roller coaster there called the Red Rod Rocket. Red Rod Rocket. You get on it, and there's speakers on the back of your seats, and you can choose what kind of music you want. Okay. All right. Obviously, Motley Crue was one of the options. Kickstart My Heart was the song that I chose. But it is literally 90 degrees straight up to get to the peak of the roller coaster, right? And then it kind of goes over the edge and then straight down. And if it wasn't for a little Motley Crue, that would have been it for me, because that was I thought, oh yeah, no big deal. But you kind of feel like you're even going over 90 degrees, and I'm just was freaking out, man. But internally, I'm sitting next to my wife. I couldn't show her that I was freaking out.
No.
And yeah, that is an amazing. For something that's not really going very fast, to have that kind of a fear factor involved. Once we got down and we were doing the regular roller coaster bit,
yeah, I
was okay.
But being inverted, that's a problem.
Yeah, that seemed like a big problem. Like, don't come loose off the track. I was like, nobody move. Like, hey, we made it. It was quite the time. Enjoyed Universal. But yeah, that's the roller coaster that definitely is etched in this brain. As
what is it called again? The red.
Oh, hold on. Why can I never say it? Rip Rod Rocket. Rip Rod Rocket.
Rip Rod Rocket. All right, so we got Rip Rod Rocket and the Beast. And I tell you what, I think tonight's. I haven't checked to see if we had a T-shirt winner from the other night, but I tell you what, the first person to reply with their favorite roller coaster on our YouTube channel in the comment section, we're going to get you guys a Drive Through Sports T-shirt, Drive Through Sports with Adam and Paul T-shirt, and head it your way. Let us know what your favorite roller coaster is, or maybe your favorite theme park that you've been to. Lots of those out there. But Paul,
hey, listen, before you wrap this up, I got to give you a score update. I know you're thinking to yourself, what score are you talking about?
What's going on in the KBO?
No. Big Cat, Coach Doug's.
He's playing the Cats. He's playing Kentucky.
Playing Kentucky. Late in the fourth quarter, Tennessee 29, Kentucky 26.
Hey, don't come up to Lexington. Expect to come out unblemished.
I mean, we got a perfect season on the line, and we got a shot at, a national championship run, and the Cats are making it really tough for us.
Hey, never say die. They're probably that Cats team he's playing is probably 3-8, and they're just
they were 5-6.
They're refusing to die. They're trying to get bowl eligibility.
5-6, yeah, for sure.
That's funny.
All right.
That's funny. All right, guys, we encourage you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see right below us a picture of myself and Brees there. Just click on that picture. You can subscribe right from here. Also, take a look at our Twitter feed here at D Through Sports. You can follow us on Twitter as well as listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Remind everybody, for Paul Brees, Adam Freeman, you have been listening to Drive Through Sports with Adam and Paul.